Every other species on Earth leaves its dead where they fall. Wolves do not dig graves, crows do not conduct funerals. Elephants will sometimes stand near a body for hours, but they do not return to the same spot every year, carrying flowers. Chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives, have been observed mourning, but they do not bury, they do not mark, they do not build monuments, they walk away. Humans do not walk away. For at least 100,000 years, and possibly far longer, every human culture that has ever existed has buried its dead, marked the location, and performed rituals over the body. Not some cultures, every single one. Groups that never contacted each other, groups separated by oceans, by continents, by tens of thousands of years. They all arrived at the same behavior independently. That is not coincidence. That is not tradition. That pattern only exists when something deeper is forcing it to appear. Here is the strange part. Burial is expensive. It takes time and energy that starving, exhausted ancient humans did not have to spare. A body left in the open feeds the group's competitors. Digging a grave, preparing a body, gathering the tribe, marking the site. None of that helps you survive tomorrow. From a pure survival standpoint, burial makes no sense at all. And yet humans have never stopped doing it. So the question isn't why ancient humans buried their dead. The question is, what was already happening inside the human brain that made it feel like the only possible thing to do? To understand this, you have to go back further than the first grave. Around 200,000 years ago, the human brain reached something close to its current size. But raw brain size isn't the interesting part. What matters is what that brain could suddenly do that no other brain on Earth could do at the same level. It could simulate the future. Neuroscientists call this mental time travel, the ability to project yourself forward in time, to imagine events that haven't happened yet, to plan for scenarios that exist only in your mind. It is one of the most powerful cognitive tools the human brain ever developed. It lets ancient humans anticipate where prey would migrate in spring, store food for winters that hadn't arrived, and build shelters before the storm hit. But that same feature had a side effect. If you can imagine your own future, you can imagine your own death. Not just witness it happening to others. Imagine it happening to you, specifically, in detail. Your body, cold. Your consciousness, gone. The people around the fire, continuing without you. No other animal appears to do this. A crow does not lie awake with existential dread. A wolf does not spend its middle years quietly reckoning with its own mortality. Humans do, and that created a problem that the brain had never needed to solve before. What do you do with the knowledge that you are going to die? The brain's solution was not philosophical, it was automatic. When the human mind confronts something unbearable, it doesn't shut down. It generates a story. It fills the gap, and the gap left by death, the sudden, complete absence of a person who was just here, is one of the largest gaps the human mind has ever encountered. Think about what death looked like to a person 50,000 years ago. Someone you have known your entire life is suddenly gone. The body is still there, but the person is not. The thing that moved, spoke, remembered, planned, it has vanished. There is no framework for where it went. There is no science to explain the difference between a living body and a dead one. The person was just here. Now they are not. But the brain does not accept nowhere. The same mental time travel that lets you imagine the future also lets you imagine the continued existence of people you know. Scientists call this agent detection, the automatic tendency to sense minds and intentions in the world around you. Your brain is built to track other consciousnesses. It does it constantly, without your permission. And it does not stop when a person dies. Psychologist Jesse Buries at the University of Otago studied what happens in the human brain when people are asked to reason about death. Even people who explicitly believe death was final and consciousness simply ended, when asked questions like, does the dead person know they are gone? Or, does he want his family to be okay? They answered intuitively in terms of ongoing mental states. They knew intellectually the person was gone, but their brain kept simulating that person as if they were still present. The mind cannot easily model the permanent absence of another mind, so it models presence instead. And once you are modeling the continued presence of the dead person, burial becomes obvious. You would not leave a living person alone in the rain. You would not abandon a sleeping member of your tribe in the open field. The brain that keeps simulating a dead person as present is a brain that feels a powerful obligation to care for them. The grave is not a resting place. It is a location, a place the continued presence can be found. That is why humans mark graves. That is why they return. The brain generated a dead person's continued existence so automatically that it needed somewhere to put it. This sounds like philosophy. It isn't. In 2017, archaeologists at the Rising Star Cave System in South Africa published findings about a species called Homo naledi, a human relative with a brain roughly a third the size of ours. The research team, led by paleoanthropologist Lee Berger, found repeated disposal of bodies in a deep, difficult-to-reach chamber of the cave system. The bones showed no evidence of predator activity, no evidence of flood transport. The bodies had been deliberately placed there and had been for an extended period of time. Homo naledi's brain was too small to be capable of the complex symbolic thought we usually associate with the ritual behavior, and yet the pattern was there, which means the instinct to do something intentional with the dead may be even older than language, older than art, older than the cognitive revolution. Scientists once thought was required to generate it. The behavior came first, the theology came later. Here is what most people assume. Humans bury their dead because they believe in an afterlife. The ritual came from the belief. Ancient people imagined heaven or the underworld or reincarnation, and burial was how they honored that conviction. But the evidence points in the other direction. The brain did not develop the simulation of continued consciousness to create religion. It developed it to track other minds, to coordinate with your tribe, to predict what other people would do next. That feature is one of the most valuable social tools the human brain has ever produced, and it ran so automatically, so constantly, that it kept running after death. The afterlife was not a theological conclusion, it was a perceptual side effect. The brain that could not stop simulating the continued presence of a dead person eventually built stories to explain what it was detecting. Those stories became beliefs. Those beliefs became rituals. Those rituals became religion. And thousands of years later, those religions became the most powerful organizing force in human history. Every afterlife, in every culture, traces back to a brain that was doing something much simpler. It was trying to find a person who was no longer there. And the strangest part is this. The same feature that produced every afterlife doctrine humans have ever invented also made early humans far better at cooperation, social bonding, and long-term planning. The side effect that built religion was also a core tool of human civilization. Burial was not a cultural invention. It was the behavioral output of a brain that could not model permanent absence. The theology arrived to explain a feeling the brain was already having. Think about the last time you lost someone. In the weeks after, you probably caught yourself thinking about telling them something, wondering what they would say about a piece of news, feeling their absence in a specific chair at a specific table. Your brain kept generating them. It kept placing them in scenes. It kept looking for them in the space they used to occupy. That is not grief. That is not weakness. That is a 200,000-year-old simulation engine doing exactly what it was built to do. It tracks minds. It cannot turn off. And when it loses one, it keeps searching. The first grave was not a theological statement. It was a person who could not stop looking for someone who was gone and needed somewhere to look. Your brain is running that same program right now. It has never stopped, and every burial, every headstone, every marked place in the ground is the same thing it has always been. A location the mind can return to because it cannot accept that the person simply isn't anywhere anymore.